How's everybody today? Good, good. All right, game week, game prep. You know, take the preparation, attention to detail, sense of urgency at practice, energy to another level. We got to get it back to game week. We've had good practices, but you know, we weren't getting ready to play, so everybody's got to ramp it up a notch, players and coaches. So with that, I'll open up to questions.
Zach, I don't know how different it is schematically in terms of the way they run the quarterback, the way they fit the quarterback run element into their offense. But when you're dealing with a team that does want a little bit more of that option sort of look, how helpful is extra time to prep? I know coaches used to talk about like with the triple option. I know that's a little bit extreme, but
yeah,
it always helped to have a few extra days. How helpful?
Well, you know, I think at this point in the season, you've seen about everything, right? And you put the best scheme together based on who you're playing and what they do. And, you know, Notre Dame's an excellent football team. They're extremely well coached. In reference to your point, they run the quarterback quite a bit. And he's an excellent player. I've been watching him for a couple years, studying Duke offense when he was at Duke. And, you know, he's a competitor. And he throws the ball well, and he's got good movement skills, good size. So, you know, when you play Notre Dame offensively, it starts with the run game, and the quarterback's a big part of the run game, not only on the design quarterback runs, but when he drops back and he's in the pocket and escapes the pocket, and his ability to, you know, create plays with his arm and his legs.
How's your offense kind of developed, like when you got added this year, in terms of some of your ones at JMU? You know, what's been different about this year's group? Offensively, you know, different, what you felt differently leaned on?
Yeah, you talking about schematically?
Yeah.
I think every year you tweak, you add some new things. You got to do that to stay ahead of the game. You know, whether you're looking for new pass concepts or RPOs, you know, or want to get better in the red area, which I think we've done this year. Put a lot of time into that in the off season because, you know, 3 field goals to overcome 1 touchdown. So touchdowns are important there. But then you've always got to take into account your personnel and put them in the best positions to be successful and come up with the weekly plan to get that done. So I think there's always tweaks in certain areas or certain game situations.
With that red zone work you said you did, is it picking out plays you see, concepts, or how when you say you really
Yeah. Well, as you guys know, I'm a film junkie, right? I mean, in my free time, I'd just as soon be watching tape than be doing anything other than sitting in my recliner. So, you know, that's a couple years of, you know, low red, high red work. Nowadays, you know, you can PFF every touchdown pass from the 1 to the 4, from the 25 to the 5. And then, you know, kind of going through those and seeing what might fit and, you know, pull up something, depending on who you're playing, that scheme-wise might match something. So you're always trying to gain the edge in this business because, you know, all these coaches can coach. All these teams are good, despite, you know, the records. The margin for error is very slim every game. And you've got to always work toward finding the edge.
Coach, last week when we talked to you, you said the first week is going to be about juggling, preparing for Notre Dame in the portal. Obviously, you're all just game mode this week.
Yeah.
But how was that first week? How challenging was it? And if you could change anything about how they've done this calendar, what would you change?
Yeah, well, it was challenging. You know, I did get home a lot later than I normally do, and I was still in early, 4:35 a.m. So, because you're dealing with portal evaluation, official visits, and still opponent prep to some degree, and then, you know, you're dealing with your staff and your players' retention as well. So, I'm glad that week is behind us, and, you know, the message this morning to the coaches was, okay, guys, no phones in the meeting rooms. If you got your phone, take it to your office. And surprisingly, every guy got up except one. So that was revealing. But, off weeks are different than game weeks in terms of, what's required in terms of your focus and attention to detail. And in terms of the recruiting calendar, I don't know that there's any easy answers to that. When you look at it from a player's perspective, everybody starts school in January, so guys that are switching schools need to have the opportunity to visit prospective schools in December, but yet seasons end at the end of November, championship games the first week of December, and there's always going to be bowl games, and now there's the expanded playoff. So I don't really know the answer to that. I don't think it's a simple situation, and if it was, it would be remedied by now.
Todd, on your left, and Pete, heard anything unique about Notre Dame's defensive front compared to some of the better defensive fronts that you've seen, especially over the last month or so? Anything that stands
Yeah.
out?
Well, they're good. They're good. Their defense is good, and Al Golden does a great job of coordinating their defense. And they're high pressure blitz outfit, quite a bit of man coverage, and then they got the zone mixers and fire zones to keep you off balance a little bit. But they get 11 guys doing their job pretty consistently. They play fast. They're physical. They're good tacklers. And they get a lot of hats to the ball, and they adjust well during the course of the game. They haven't given up many points because they got good coaches and they got good players. And up front, they're quick, a lot of movement. But when you take into account then the blitzes, right, and there's a lot of moving pieces, and they play coverage extremely well. They do a great job in man coverage. So they're a really good defense, and that's why they've won a lot of games.
Pete, up top on your left, and Ravi, Curt up here. I know you brought in West and Kamara to make an impact, and they certainly have. What has made them stand out?
Good prospects. Mikhail's a real smart player. He's explosive, dynamic, quick. He's a good technician. C.J. West, for a big guy, moves extremely well, has really good get-off. I think it all starts with Derek Owings and our strength and conditioning program. He does a great job of taking body fat off these guys and adding lean muscle mass, and they'll gain weight, but it's good weight, and still making them more flexible and quicker, faster, explosive. Then I got to give our defensive coaches a lot of credit. I think Coach Haines does a great job as a coordinator of finding ways to create disruption up front and stop the run and pressure the quarterback. And Coach Kuntz, Pat Kuntz, and Buddha Williams do a tremendous job as well. We have two defensive line coaches. Pat coaches the inside guys, and Buddha has the outside guys. So, it's a team effort, and these are guys that really want to be good, so they commit and they work hard every day to improve, and you see the end result.
Ravi, and then we'll go to Zoom.
Yeah, Coach, when you look at what Curtis has done, I think he's a top-rated guy, quarterbacks in the playoffs for Pro Football Focus. He's number one, number two, number three in the country in a whole bunch of categories. What's made him so good and so consistent throughout the whole year?
Well, a lot of things go into that. First of all, he had a body of work before he came here, and he's played a lot of football. So, you learn by doing. And he's gotten a lot of reps at playing quarterback, a lot of successful reps. And, coming to a new school is an adjustment schematically. Some of the concepts may be similar, but the language is different, and obviously a new way of doing things, new players and what have you. And a lot of new portal guys at receiver. And so, but I think it all starts with protection. We've done a pretty good job of protecting him most of the time. We have certainly had our hiccups during a couple games. And we've got a group of receivers that have really good ball skills and can make contested catches, and our backs are good out of the backfield as well. And I think, schematically, a lot of our pass plays, they have answers versus man zone, one high, two high, and he's a quick thinker, and he processes quickly, and he's extremely accurate, and he's good in the pocket. He doesn't panic, and he's a really good quarterback, and he has certainly taken his game to another level There's no doubt about that. You know, he was a player of the year in the MAC in 22, but suffered an injury at the end of the season. So he really could not benefit from sort of the off-season strength and conditioning program going into his senior year. Still had a good year. But you know, since he's come here on a bigger stage, I think he's built on every success and developed more confidence and belief and continues to improve. And I think you really saw that starting game 2 and then out on the West Coast against UCLA. And then, you know, when you can involve 10, 12 different guys in terms of touches between running backs, tight ends, and receivers, you know, that's a great thing to have multiple guys that can separate, get open, and make plays.
Adam Rittenberg on Zoom, then Jim.
I can't hear him.
Hey Curt, how are you? Just wanted to, this obviously Notre Dame doesn't have a lot of firsts left in its program, but this is one on Friday for them. It's new for them, it's new for you guys. I'm wondering how you think your team will handle this type of stage where everyone in the country is going to be watching you guys.
Yeah, I think to me and our guys, you know, in my mind, it's just another game. I mean, you know, you prepare for this one like you prepare for all of them. I think for our players, you know, they're going to be excited to play and excited to prove something. I don't think anyone was happy with the way we came out of Ohio State. We didn't give ourselves a chance to be successful, you know, giving up 14 points on the punt team and then having some of the communication breakdowns we had on pass pro. We didn't give ourselves a chance to play offense. So, but I think our guys have learned from that too and will be better in a hostile environment than we were on that particular day. And at the end of the day, it's just football. You know, the game's going to be won or lost between the white lines, and I want them to go out there, fly around, have a little swag, and play the way we can play.
Jim in front, and Zach B.
Curt, you talked about Notre Dame's defense and the respect you have for them. Obviously, they have a really good secondary, some very good defenders back there. How important is it for Indiana to get their running game going to help open up their passing game?
I think it's always important to be balanced. You know, if you can run the ball successfully, then you know, it opens things up in the pass game and vice versa. So we have been pretty balanced this season. We've run the ball well. Those guys have done a good job up front. Coach Bostad done a great job. Coach Miller, the running backs, everybody involved, and that'll be a big part of it again Friday night.
Zach B. You ran in front, and Daniel.
Coach, who have you kind of seen in the locker room as a player take charge these last couple of weeks as you guys prepare mentally and physically for this game?
I mean, the same guys that really have done it all year long. And I've said this a few times. We have a lot of guys that could be the leader or one of the 2 or 3 leaders on this team. You know, we've got a lot of older guys that have played a lot of football that have high character, great competitive excellence. They're consistent day in, day out. They represent the principles and values of the program, and they're respected by their teammates. And you know, there's probably at least a dozen guys I could name there. So, you know, you got to send 3 captains out for the coin toss, or maybe you're allowed 4, and we send the same 3 out every game: Carpenter, Kadick, and Allison. But you know, we just have a bunch of guys that love to play football and work hard every day. And you know, we've had a great locker room from the get-go, and it's never changed.
Daniel on your right to Seth.
I want to say it was James Carpenter said last week, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How do you go about trying to manage that with also just the idea that it is kind of just whatever's ahead of you?
Yeah, well, you know, it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him because this is his senior year, and he hadn't had to do it yet. He's played in the FCS playoffs before. But he also understands that to capitalize on the opportunity, you know, he's got to stack meetings and days and put himself in the best position to be successful on Saturday. That it's no different than if we're getting ready for Game 5, right? And he's an older guy. He understands that. So, I mean, I think they're all excited to be a part of it. But I think they also all understand what it's going to take to be successful and play their very best football.
Seth front left, and Jack.
Curt, I know Jameer Johnson missed the game against Purdue. Just health-wise, how is he doing? How's everybody on the team doing? And I guess in general, how tricky does it get this time of year to manage that aspect of things, keeping everybody healthy when you get this late in the year?
Yeah, our health is good, and Jameer's out there practicing. Looks good. So we're in pretty good shape.
Check. Front left.
Yeah, Curt, you called yourself a film junkie. I guess with the extended break that you have between Purdue and Notre Dame, does that allow you to watch me? I mean, I guess how much of Notre Dame did you go in, and is that deeper than normal? Are you keen on anything specific?
No. I mean, we've been watching Notre Dame from the get-go. But, I also like the sense of urgency during game week in terms of preparation, where you're more detailed and focused and putting that plan together. So, we put a few core things in that we've been practicing forever that fit the Notre Dame game, and we'll get a little bit more specific this week.
Joe back right, then Zion.
Coach, Aiden Fisher's been really consistent all year long. What does that mean for you, a guy you brought to JMU, followed you on this ride?
Yeah, he gets better every year, and when he talks, people listen, but he backs it up with the way he plays on the field. I'm glad to see a lot of the recognition he's received postseason, as well as all the other guys that have. And he's the quarterback of the defense.
Zion on your right, last one.
Curt, when you look at this Notre Dame team, they're one of the best at turning teams over
Yeah.
on defense. Just how important do you feel like it will be for you guys to protect the ball and not put it into danger?
Critical. I think we're plus 15 in turnover ratio. They're plus 16. And they've forced 25 fumbles on the season. That's a high number. So ball security for us and them is going to be really important, winning the turnover battle. I'll tell you, the other area that they're really dangerous is, their punt return team, they've blocked 3 punts and forced a couple bad snaps because of the pressure they put consistently. So they've gotten points there. And then, when they punt, they faked 3 punts, which those kind of plays can be game changers in a game. So they use their punt and punt return as weapons. And we got to be right on point. Our teams have been really consistent this year other than the Ohio State game. And we're going to need a good special teams effort this week.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, we got Mike Shanahan. We'll start with Zach and go to Mike.
He needs to fix, can I fix that last name first, please?
We'll post the recording on the Google Drive as well.
Sorry about that, Coach.
We'll go Mike and Zach. Yeah, Curt was in here and said one of the kind of differences for the offenses this year, one of the focuses he had the last couple of years, kind of improving on the red zone, finding new concepts. What's that been like, and how's that developed? Like, what's been different about your kind of red zone approach maybe than in past years?
Yeah, I think it started in training camp. In August, we definitely spent a lot more time in that field zone and practicing different plays. We added a few things that I think have helped us. But we want to be aggressive when we get down there, and sometimes that means, throwing the ball into the end zone on first or second down when typically teams might be expecting you to run the football. We have a variety of plays. We still RPO, and then I feel like we've stuck to what we've done well with the personnel that we have here, and find ways to create matchups down there that are favorable for us.
Go Zach on your left and then Matt.
Talking about RPOs there, it's simplistic, but just how important has Curtis been in terms of the trust you guys give him? I'm not asking for like maybe a percentage of plays, but it just seems like more than maybe most quarterbacks, he's getting the option pre and even post snap to kind of decide what happens, what play is run. Just how important is how has he earned that trust, and how important is his decision making?
Yeah, I would say he earned the trust since he got here in January. He had some experience with it at Ohio as well. But just the amount of reps that we accumulate on those throughout spring ball and then in a training camp and throughout the season. I feel like he's become really comfortable with all those things that we're asking him to do, and then his decision making has been, obviously very on point throughout the whole year. He knows when to hand the ball off. He knows when to give a receiver a chance. He trusts some guys to win versus man-to-man at times, and he's just very smart with the football. And each and every week that we've gone through the season, I feel like he's felt more comfortable with it, and definitely has gained our trust from a very early stage in practice.
We'll go Matt on your left and then Todd. Hey, Coach, Notre Dame's played well on defense this year. Talk about facing what you've seen on film, and do they remind you of anybody you guys have played this year?
Yeah, they have really good personnel. I would say their personnel is going to be very similar to the Michigans and Ohio States, and we've seen countless other good players throughout the year, whether that's in the secondary or on the D-line, linebackers. But they're going to be up there with the best that we've played. They play really fast. They keep you off balance. They don't make anything easy for you. They challenge you on the perimeter. And they're physical. They're always running the football, and they've created a ton of turnover. So we got to do a good job of controlling the line of scrimmage in the run game and in protections. Obviously, protecting the football is a key every single week, and then we got to find a way to create some explosive plays.
We'll go Todd and then Pete.
Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman said yesterday that Howard Cross will be back for this game. I know you've probably prepared. He hasn't played lately, but I'm sure you've prepared for him. But what is one guy can one guy kind of change the way the defensive front looks? And I don't know if that changes your preparation, but how much do you kind of account for that?
Yeah, we'll be very aware of when he's on the field, and making sure that what we're calling in that situation, or up front, if we're able to get some double teams on him, we'll take advantage of that when we can. But he's a proven guy. He's very active for a bigger guy with his size. He moves very well. He's quick. He reminds me of some of the D linemen that we have here on our team. And he's very disruptive. So we'll have to do a good job of getting double teams on him, like I just said. But also we'll try to stick to what we do well, and maybe change some schemes up where we might be able to get the ball on the perimeter, or maybe not run it right at him.
We'll go Pete and then Ravi.
Coach, up here, you brought in Surratt and Price to make an impact. They certainly have. What makes them stand out?
They're both extremely competitive. They work their butts off throughout the week in their preparation on the field. They're really good, smart football players as well. They have the ability to adjust to what the defense is giving them and find ways to get open. And I would say that with a lot of the guys that we're playing with on the perimeter, add Keyshawn Williams, Miles Cross, Coop, Kobe and those guys whenever they're in there. I've been very fortunate with that whole group, and Miles and Elijah have had really good years up to this point. But they're always hungry. They're hungrier to find ways to continue to get better. And they've just been able to make a lot of different plays for us with the ball in their hands or down the field in the pass game. And it's been good to see their hard work pay off throughout the year.
We'll go Ravi on your left, and then we'll go to Zoom to Adam.
Yeah, Coach, obviously, one thing that stands out about you guys is downfield blocking by the receivers. He gets a lot of praise, PFS and reference and that. At what point did you guys decide, hey, this is going to be a point of emphasis for us because it can be really impactful? What's the genesis of making this something that's really important?
That starts from day one. That starts with Curt Cignetti and myself, obviously demanding it from those guys. And I put it like this to them. There's about 70 plays in the game roughly. Usually if you get 5 to 10 footballs thrown your way throughout the game in the pass game, you feel pretty good about it. But that still leaves about 60 other plays in the game where you may not be getting the ball. So how are you making an impact without the ball in your hands? And I'm always very I like to point out whenever we see the running backs pick up a blitz in protection, or a tight end make a key block for them on the perimeter after the catch. Things like that where their teammates are busting their butts to help them get a catch or make a big play. We should be doing the same thing for the other guys.
We'll go to Adam on Zoom.
Mike, I know you guys have started fast, but you actually have more points in the second and fourth quarters. I'm curious, in a game like this, what's more important, executing that script and starting quickly, or adjusting to their adjustment of you, in that second quarter, maybe later in the game?
Yeah, definitely equally as important. With this time off, one of the things that we're always trying to get a gauge on in that first series and into the second quarter is, what is their plan against us? Is it man coverage? Is it zone coverage? Are they blitzing? Are they just rushing four? How are they trying to affect the passer? Things of that nature we're trying to get a gauge on and then make the proper adjustments from there. But really at the end of the day, it comes down to our execution. We, in this time off, we've been able to prepare for these guys for a couple weeks now, and also give our players not only their main couple looks that they'd like to run on defense, but some of the one-offs as well, just so whenever things come up in the game, we're able to talk about it and get it adjusted.
We'll go Daniel on your right, and then Zach B.
Yeah, Mike, I want to see you mention OSU and UM and just how challenging whatever it was. Just like when you look at Notre Dame, what have you guys maybe learned from the two challenges then that you might change here this week?
Well, the Ohio State and the Michigan game were a little bit different for us. And really some of it was winning one-on-one matchups. Some of it was, maybe we dropped a couple passes that we typically don't drop, or miss a throw, miss a read, things of that nature. Sometimes it was mental errors with assignments. So it was a combination of all those things. I felt like, our guys really learned a lot over those last 2 weeks, and you saw the response that we were looking for in the Purdue game. So I'm looking forward to carrying that over from what we put on tape against Purdue, and learning from those past experience against Ohio State and Michigan, and being able to go out there and execute at a high level on Friday.
Zach B front right, and then Jack, and then Seth.
Coach, on that Ohio State game, what are some of those things that you guys learned from yourselves in that road and hostile environment, and how prepared do you guys think you'll be for that in South Bend?
Yeah, I think we learned that mistakes that we made were definitely magnified in a tight ball game against a really good team, and a lot of those things were under our control, and things that from an execution standpoint we just didn't get it done. And I think our guys learned from that film. The crowd noise did play a little bit of a factor in that, but at the same time, we're ready to respond and get another chance to play in a big-time atmosphere like we will be in on Friday, and prove that wasn't us in some instances, where we fell short against Ohio State.
Go to your left, Seth, and then Jack.
Yeah, Mike, Zach Gordon can be kind of an unsung hero in the offense at times. I mean, in terms of snap count, one of the higher usage tight ends in the country. What makes him such a valuable piece to your offense?
Yeah, he brings an edge. He brings some toughness. He's a guy who's very detailed. He wants to do it exactly the way we're asking him to do it every single play. He's in incredible shape. For him to play as hard as he plays, in the amount of plays that he's playing within a game, I'm always been very impressed with that part of his game. And his just versatility. He can block the defensive ends in the box. He can block linebackers and DBs out in space, and he does a really good job catching the football whenever a pass comes his way. So he's really just an all-around, really good player. Complete player, and a guy that we have a lot of trust in.
Jack on your left, and then we'll wrap with Jim.
Yeah, specifically with Curtis Rourke after the Ohio State game, what were some of your conversations like with him, and what do you think he kind of took away from that game?
We just evaluated it like we did every other game throughout the year. There's always room for improvement. There's always things we can do to be better. And not only him, but it's just everybody on offense. Myself, everybody involved. So. We just evaluated it really closely, learned from it, and moved on. And I think, like I said just a little bit ago, you saw the result that we had the following week, and the response was everything that we wanted it to be. But that was in the past. Now it's all about us being able to go out there and do it all again this Friday.
Jim, wraps up.
Coach, the secondary of Notre Dame, obviously very, very good, one of the best around. What is it you want or need to see from your run game to have a bigger impact for the offense in totality?
Yeah, definitely controlling the line of scrimmage, and starts up front with those guys. Being efficient whenever we are running the football, keeping us in positive down distance scenarios. We're going to have our one-on-ones on the outside at some point or the other. They like to play a lot of man coverage, but they challenge you. They make every throw is contested. They make you be accurate with the football. They make you have to be great with releases, top of the routes, things down the field to be able to create separation and get open. Relying on that run game, and because the thing about playing a lot of man-to-man is sometimes when you can break through that first and second level, there's opportunities for explosive passes or explosive runs there as well. So, being able to stay ahead of the sticks, I think, will be really big as far as just our whole operation on offense will go.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
All right, thank you, guys.
Bryant Haines, let's start with Zach, we go to Mike.
I asked Coach Cignetti this as well. I know it's maybe not as extreme as like dealing with a team that does the triple, but when people talk about preparing for a team that has a strong sort of quarterback run option component in their offense, that extra time, more than just a week, is really helpful. When you have that extra time, what do you focus on with whether it's linebackers, ends, whoever's making those reads that are necessary? What are the keys that you kind of drill with them in terms of both pre and post snap, what they need to be ready for when you have an offense like Notre Dame's that's going to run the quarterback as offense?
Yeah, post snap, nothing really changes too much. Our reads are our reads, our keys are our keys, so it all fits into that bucket. But what I can call pre-snap can help on some of those pictures. Now, nothing can fully help +1 run game, like a quarterback that's just simply going to run the ball with a lead blocking running back. Like, there's only so many things you can do to account for that. You have to use all 11. They're using all 11 of theirs. We got to use all 11 of ours. So I can work through that with what I call. But in terms of like pre-snap, this and that, we have our reads, we have our fits, get off blocks, make plays, attack.
Go Mike, and then Pete.
Yeah, speaking to some of the guys up front this year, some of the guys that came over from JU, they said you've thrown a lot more at them, doing a lot more movement. Is that because you're more comfortable and have more experience with them coaching, multiple years with the guys at JU? And why do you like them so much, those stunts and twists up front, and how they impact the offense, or you think they impact the offense?
Right. Well, to your first question, I think that's part of it. The reason that I've added more is because I've been with those guys for a long time, so they know what a loop game is. Like, how many times are you gonna call a loop, coach? You got anything else? So part of that is them wanting to do some different things. So that's part of it. And then two is I'm a big fan of angles. I want to create angles and picks and rolls. Like that's a good way of getting home and freeing guys up. So if I can find a new one that Coach Coons, Coach Buddha likes, the defensive linemen like, we'll try it. So that's to the first part of the question. Secondly, why do I like it? I like to dictate the terms of where the quarterback's going to go. I can call jet. I can tell my defensive linemen, hey, just rush, right? And they're all just run up the field, and they're hitting swims, and they're falling down. But why? Because then the quarterback gets to choose where he wants to go. He can step up into this gap. He can feel vertical surge. He can step up in the pocket. I don't want that. I want to tell him where he wants to go, right? Right-hand quarterbacks, maybe they want to escape to their throwing hand, whatever the situation, the game plan is. But I can use stunts to kind of dictate the terms of the quarterback instead of vice versa.
We'll go Pete, and then Weaver. Sure, Brian. The impact that West and Kamara have delivered this year, obviously you brought them in to do so, and they have. What makes them special?
Well, they're both really hard workers. They're both great individuals. They both want to be great. They hold themselves to a very high standard. So that's the first thing. And then in terms of what they bring skill set wise, two different types of guys, but CJ is a big, powerful guy, and his role is so important because the nose guard in our defense, and in any defense for the most part, is at the center point of everything. He's taking on double teams. He's got to win that one-on-one against the center. It's important to win the middle of the defense, and CJ does that for us. And then similar but a little bit different, the field then is a unique position too, right? It's like the funnel point to are you going to spill the ball and the ball has to bubble over the top of you, or are you going to build the wall and build it back inside? And each call has kind of its own purpose behind that. But Mikhail kind of dictates the terms. Am I going to let this ball make it to the field? And if so, is he going to, how much can he make it bubble so the rest of the guys can kind of take great pursuit angles? They're very important roles, and those guys flourish in their roles.
Stay on your left with Matt and then go to Todd.
Coach Aiden Fisher's talked often about the connection you guys have, how you're just, really in sync. How important has he been for you, coming here to Indiana and implementing this defense and being right in the middle, being the quarterback, the guy that's got the green dot, or whatever it is, and just making everything work so well?
Yeah, I get that one frequently. It's hard for me to put into words how important he's been. Yes, the green dot component and my trust in him, but also like his ability to convey to the other guys. I coach all the linebackers, but sometimes when Fish says, no, you're doing it wrong, you should do it like this, like it coming from one of their teammates is different than Coach Haines yelling at me every single time that I misfit this thing. So he's helped me develop that room, and I'm proud of where that room is at now, the linebacker room. We got young guys that are coming along. But that wasn't just me. That Aiden was a part of that too. So he's part of the culture change here. He's part of my voice, my mouthpiece to the guys on the field. He's the green dot. He's the leader. He's the unquestioned leader. He knows what I want, and he's able to get it done. He gets his 10 teammates to play the right call. So he's I can't say enough good things about him and what he means to this defense.
So Todd on your left, and then Ravi.
Kind of flowing along the same lines, all the guys you brought from JMU, you have one at least one at each level of the defense. What's that personal relationship like with those guys, and how is that kind of passed along from them to their teammates to the field?
Yeah, I've known these guys for a long time. I was thinking about the other day. I mean, I've known James Carpenter since 2019. I was actually thinking it's going to be weird being in a defense that doesn't have James Carpenter in it. We've been together for so long, so the relationships are close. But that's the case with all the guys now. I'm close with every single one of the players in my own way. It's not that different from a JMU guy to a guy that was here before. I love all those guys, and I'm hard on all those guys, and I want the best for all those guys. So that's the case in terms. But yeah, I love them. They've been great. They've changed the culture. They're a huge part of what you're seeing right now in terms of the change of IU football is those guys that we brought from JMU, no question.
Okay, we'll third row left to Jeff, and then we'll go to Zoom for Adam.
Yeah, Coach Cignetti was talking about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, the whole fast, physical, relentless concept of we attack and sit back. Just kind of like, when did you guys decide, okay, this is how we want to play? Were you guys watching another game? Were you watching your own team? Or kind of what was the genesis of when you decided this is who we're going to be defensively?
Yeah, I guess I've just always felt like that's what I would want my defense to be, whether I was calling it or I've been with Coach Cignetti for a long time. I started as a defensive line coach. Defensive line coach I'm not calling them defense, but what did I want my defensive line to be? I wanted it to be fast, violent, physical, northbound. I wanted to play in their backfield, right? So I just took that and then I became a linebacker coach. I wanted that to be part of the linebacker fits too. I wanted to be downhill, aggressive, slipping blocks, getting vertical, playing in their backyard. And so now I'm the defensive coordinator. I'm doing all of it. I want the same thing, so I guess that's never changed on my end. I don't know where the phrase came from. I don't know where that generated, but in terms of philosophically, I think he and I have just always, it's just who we are. It's who we are from a personality standpoint. We want to attack.
Adam on Zoom.
Brian, I'm just wondering, you guys have defended the run so well all year. What type of challenge is this in particular with a team that has multiple backs and a quarterback who obviously can attack you, and all of them are averaging over 5 yards a carry? What's the key to stopping that type of attack?
Yeah, it's a very good rushing attack. I mean, I think it's 10th in the country overall, 224 yards a game, 6.3 a clip. I mean, you can't stop the run if they're going to run the quarterback. I mean, you'd have to overcommit so aggressively to stopping the run that you would put other parts of the defense in peril. So it's not necessarily about stopping the run. It's making the quarterback pay a toll every time he decides he doesn't want to run it. And if that's 20 times, then that's 20 hits for the good guys. So, they're a very good rushing attack. I like our front seven. I think we're aggressive at all levels. We have different things that we can do, whether it's blitzing or mixing the looks up. But he can run some, and he probably will, and he'll probably get some yards. But he'll also get a couple hits from the Hoosiers.
We'll go to Zach B on your right, and then Daniel.
Coach, when you're preparing for a Notre Dame team that has a good tight end and utilizes their tight end well, how do you kind of look back at maybe a game like Michigan where they like to use their tight end? How do you kind of prepare for that scheme-wise?
Yeah, they use their tight ends in a different capacity than Michigan and even Nebraska and those guys, but you definitely have to account for them. Now, again, it's kind of like the same thing as the run fits, post snap. Like the rules are the rules. Like we account for the tight end in all of our defenses, all of our coverages. Having an awareness of where he's at, what his alignment might tell us, those are some of the pre-snap indicators that can kind of help guide us into a better, cleaner reaction time to him getting the ball. But the coverages are the coverages. We're not going to overcompensate for their tight ends, but there's a healthy respect there for what they do with their tight ends.
We'll go Daniel on your right, and then Seth.
On Mikhail, I want to say as someone who Sig mentioned in the fall, he realized this spring he had just reached a whole new level. I'm curious what it was or when you realized that he kind of ascended as he ultimately has.
Yeah, well, first thing first on Mikhail. Mikhail is the hardest worker on the defense. He's the hardest worker on the defense. He's the last guy off the practice field. So he's always looking for his own improvement, you know. And when did I start to notice, man, he's really flashing? He's always flashed ever since I've been with him. He seems a little twitchier off the edge. And I think part of this is just a mental thing, too. I think him coming here from Group of 5, you know, I'm coming from JMU. Can I roll with the big guys? Can I roll with the Big Ten offensive linemen? And then him recognizing kind of early in spring, maybe like second, third practice, and he's like, oh yeah, I can do the same thing to these guys that I was doing to Sunbelt offensive tackle. So I think it was probably a confidence thing that's shown up too. And he's playing confidently, and when you're playing confidently, you're going to play fast and play aggressive, and that's what Mikhail's done all year.
On your left to Seth, and then Jack.
Yeah, Brian. James Carpenter was in here last week and called it a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, you know, to be in a position like this. You know, I know some of this kind of starts at the top, but for you as a coach, how do you kind of balance, you know, it's just another game with allowing them to kind of appreciate the position they're in?
Yeah, it's a delicate balance there. Of course, it's the biggest game for Carp. Carp played high school at Roanoke Catholic High School. It's an all-in-one high school. I don't know what the student body there is, but a small school guy, walked on to James Madison, and now look at him. He's going to be playing in the college football playoffs, starting defensive tackle. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for all these guys, and I'm excited for the moment too. But we're a process-oriented operation. It's just it's Monday. It's a rainy Monday. We got a Tuesday practice. We got to clean up normal downs. I got to make sure the run fits are tight. You guys know I got to figure out quarterback run still. So it's just another day, you know. And when the game gets here, I'm sure the moment will be awesome and electric environment, all those things. But at the end of the day, run, hit, tackle, swarm. The standard is the standard. Not a football game.
Jack, and then Jim.
Coach, with James Carpenter, when did you realize that it was possible for him to kind of go from a guy you recruited as a walk-on to now how much he means for your defense? And kind of what's that journey been like seeing him go from point A to point B?
Yeah. Well, when I recruited him as a walk-on, I just thought, well, this guy can maybe be a pretty good football player at JMU. You know, I didn't necessarily think, well, this is going to be my starting 3 technique in the Big Ten. But credit to him. He's another one of these guys that just doesn't say a lot, but he just never stops working. He wants to get better. He wants to get pushed. He wants to get coached. I think it's one of the reasons that he came from JMU. He liked the scheme. He loves Coach Kuntz. Those guys have a great relationship, and he just wants to constantly push himself. So I'm proud of him and how far along he's come. I could have never seen this 5 years ago in 2019, recruiting him out of Roanoke Catholic High School, but proud of his journey. And the same for a lot of these guys.
Jim, and then last one to Mike.
Coach Marcus Freeman said one of the things you guys, problems you present is all the different formations and fits you throw at them that have to look at and changes they have to look at. What is it that they do so well offensively that you have to worry about, that your unit has to focus on?
Yeah, well, they're a really well-coached offense. They're very balanced. I mean, I mentioned like 224 yards running per game. I think it's right at 200 passing a game. You know, that's a very balanced offense. They're balanced even in their tendencies. Like typically what I do when I game plan somebody is I want to like figure out like how can I attack? And this formation is this. Boom, I can bring that pressure. Or this personnel grouping in that down and distance, I can hit him with this. These guys are balanced. I think they do a really healthy job of self-scouting. They have a counterpunch to anything that they throw at you. So yeah, just a good clean offense. And then guys, at the end of the day, if you're willing to run your quarterback down Main Street, like that is unique. Some coaches don't want to do that. You could lose them. You could get hit. So that presents its issues.
Last one, Mike, second row on your left.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk to you kind of during the season. Were there any moments that this clicked into place for the group, like that stood out in the game or response to a game, anything that kind of, you thought that's a playoff-worthy defense or playoff caliber defense for you guys during the season as things kind of go?
I thought we took a big step coming off of the first bye week. It was when we played Nebraska here at home. I thought the defense took a step there. We made a couple changes schematically. I changed a couple of things coverage-wise and shell rotation, disguise. The staff and I did. I thought we really did a good job of self-scouting and identifying a couple of flaws in our system, and we came up with a couple new ideas that have really paid off. So that's to me when I felt like, okay, we have the complete package now, was the Nebraska game. Since then, it still hasn't been perfect. I don't know if it ever will be perfect, but it's a little bit closer to what I would deem as a legit defense.
Great, thanks, Brian. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.